Peace and respect to you all. Welcome to Demolished Doctrine, the beginning of the end of religions. And tonight, Mac the Human. Peace and respect, Mac. How are you?
Peace and respect, Richard. I'm doing fine. Thank you. It's good to be here with you again. We missed last week, and yes. It's just nice to see you. You know, it's been a long week. So,
yeah. Missed last week. That's not good. I forgot to mute my monitor computer. It's okay. All right. Okay, so we don't have a topic for tonight, apparently, unless, Mac, you've thought of something since we were off air.
No, I mean, I shared a link if you want something to sort of riff off of. I shared a link in the private chat. That's just a Reddit post I came across today. It made me think about you, which was a really cool map, a really cool model of the earthquake activity in the last year on a global digital map with different sized dots representing different strengths of activity. And it's just a really compelling map. I stared at it for probably about 7 minutes myself, but I thought of you because you're the guy that's talked the most about geological activity with me, or probably ever in my life. So, you know, I thought this is a Richard kind of a thing. He'd probably get a kick out of it.
Well, Yellowstone's on there, and it's not the largest dot, but it's I guess it's the third largest dot size.
Yeah,
I wonder why some of them are bigger. That's odd. I wouldn't understand that. I'm going to go ahead and share that link, though.
Cool.
Which you could have shared it, yeah? I mean, you have.
Oh,
you
yeah,
have
yeah,
the power
definitely.
To share, don't you?
Yeah.
I got it. I
thought it would be like a pre-show chat.
There was no time for that.
No.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know. I speak about the same things over and over again, and sometimes I kind of lose track.
Mm-hmm.
I used to spend a lot of energy on keeping track of who I said what to because I was a profound liar. So you got to keep track of those things because you'll make opposing statements if you're not terribly careful. But I quit caring because I quit lying. And now I don't keep track at all of what I said who to. Peace awesome. And respect, Trusty 8 podcast. How you doing, Kev?
St. Tommy too.
So I don't know that I had or had not. I responded to him physically in the chat. I don't know that I have or have not spoken to you about, or at least on this show. I suppose if it was on this show, you'd have been there in almost every case. But about the recent science, the shadow zone being made more able to trigger seismic events where the magnetosphere is weakened, and if there's a solar event. Have we talked about all that? I don't know.
I remember you talking about or making these assertions in our sort of first conversations when you were kind of giving me the lay of the land of your ideas. I remember you talking about those things, and I remember, actually, I'm glad that you're bringing it up because I remember thinking that's something we have to talk about because I'm not very well versed in that kind of science. But I think I understand how to like go about understanding a concept, and you know, I'd love for you to explain.
That's handy.
It to me. Yeah, man. I think I know anyway.
Much better than people who don't know how to learn. No, knowing how to learn is a big deal, and most people don't.
Right on.
Okay.
Is this? I don't want to jump ahead, but is this related to the? I know there's a group of scientists that you admire that I've looked up before that study this kind of stuff, that study the relationship between solar ejecta and seismic activity. Is this what you're driving at? This kind of part of your understanding of events and reality? Is this? And do you know who I'm talking about? This group of scientists?
Yes, of course I do.
What are their names, or what are they called? Like, they have kind of a cool.
I'm about to link it in the chat.
Perfect.
I was already looking up when you started talking about it, actually.
Awesome.
So this here is an introduction to. It's from the perspective of if I were trying to introduce the channel to you, it's tips for me to introduce the channel to you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it's a lesson for somebody who's already somewhat conforming or understanding or agreeing with the science.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's what that is in the side chat there. For everyone and anyone and everyone. I suggest reading it because it's I'm sorry, I recommend listening to that because it's not designed as a sales pitch for the channel. It's designed for someone else who already trusts it somewhat to explain it to a person who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. So it's an insider view, if you will, something like that. So you're not being manipulated in some way or something like that. Right. They're called suspicious observers. Man, they come up with horrible names for things. Oh, that just sounds like a conspiracy theory when it's not. And they created a model which, right before COVID, the last national science competition for high schools, junior high and high schools, a junior high student won the nationals based on their science, which is predicting earthquakes. Now, the previous model for predicting earthquakes got 0% accuracy because there's never been a model.
Okay.
This is the first model. Okay. And I'm going to grant that they're only getting between 65 and 75% accuracy predicting earthquakes before they happen. But my God, man, think about those words. They're predicting earthquakes before they happen. And sometimes a week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks before the earthquake happens.
Wow.
Yeah. In other words, time for people get out of the area, like saving lives, which is why their disaster app is $2.99 a year. So you can get phone alerts on worldwide earthquakes and solar ejecta and things to that effect, those things that are tied together in that science, through an app that costs you $3 a year through Suspicious Observers. And again, I hate the name Suspicious Observers. I also hate the name Electric Universe Theory because it's not electric, it's energetic, and talking about differentials. It's not talking about like you have to put electricity to it, like somebody put electricity to it. That's not the case.
You mean no, we shouldn't go down that road yet. I think we should still talk about the Suspicious Observers stuff. I mean, I know it's related, but
well, all of their science is based on the energetic universe, that everything is energy. And and I mean, there's not a whole lot of people left that disagree with that, right?
No, that's true. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, but if you're talking about energy, you're talking about, electromagnetic energy, but you're also talking about the energy of, in objects with inertia and, things like that. Like it's not all electromagnetic. It's not all gravitational either, but there's
which is why I don't like electric. It's not quite right.
But anything in motion has energy applied to it. I mean, that's what energy is. That's what we're talking about when we say energy, is something is happening. Something went from stasis to motion, or to activity. And so energy was applied. But okay. Yeah. I mean, that's not heretical at all. But, the electric universe and the whole Velikovsky thing, you must know how, criticized and
I'm aware.
Fairly wrecked the assertions have been, of that, especially
I don't agree with that,
especially the cataclysmic, creation of the solar system and things like that. I mean, we have direct evidence. Well, Velikovsky, along with his assertions about the interaction between solar bodies and non-solar bodies, for instance, that had to do with electrical currents and things like that. Along with that, he also talked about this these early accretion disk events, where where planets were taking, taking each other's orbits and like switching places and colliding, and there was this huge cataclysmic period where during the last 100,000 years, when there was humanity around to sort of remember and record those events. And as far as I understand it, this was asserted to be reflected in global stone carvings and things like that, but evidence of global ideas, primitive ideas, that where the stone carving, the shapes in the stone carvings were really reflecting these electromagnetic events of plasma transfer and things like that. I don't know if all of that came from Velikovsky or if that was just when I went down that rabbit hole, I was exposed to those ideas as well. But that stuff seems really dubious to me.
Well, I don't know Velikovsky.
Okay.
And most of the things that you're saying, I wouldn't agree with, and I don't think electric universe theorists would agree with. And I really don't know what he was talking about. And I'm not sure. Okay, so the Peace and Respect, Wild Heart, and also New Genesis Connection. And yes, you're welcome to restream this if you like Wild Heart, no problem. No, there is a person within they're loosely attached to the team who's talking about things like you're talking about, but not exactly the same way. Or maybe you
I'm sure
read
I'm
a
poorly
Velikovsky
representing
one time and it was a couple years ago, and that was a generalization and it's not real specific or whatever, which is fine. It's not. I'm not worried about it either way. Yeah. But so the connection is that Velikovsky believed in electric universe theory, not that electric universe theory demands that the following things that Velikovsky said would have to also be true.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Honestly, I don't really think, I mean, if we boil it down to just the assertion that the skeptical observers make that there is a relationship between solar ejecta specifically and planetary seismic activity specifically, I don't think we have to go into, whether or not electric universe theory is correct or incorrect. I don't think it's important at that stage of the conversation. It's really like, okay, what if this is true? If it is, we should have these results. And it seems like they do present those results. I mean,
they do
to a satisfactory level,
I don't think there's anyone seriously critiquing it who's saying that their models aren't working.
Right.
There's none of their peers are saying, oh, you're just full of crap. They're just trying to figure out what they're doing to cheat to make it work. So they're just like, questioning their, which is not great. But I think it's the beginning of something. And obviously, if you're getting 65-75% accuracy in your model's not perfect. You're missing something, or you're not accounting for the things that are there correctly.
Right.
Or you'd be better. Right. But for a first earthquake predicting model, well, it's better than what we have.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Have we explicitly stated what they claim? I don't think we've even done that. We both kind of know, but
in their earthquake model?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we should say it for the show.
Yeah, I'm not expert in this or anything. I haven't spent years studying their work and stuff, but here's the general overview. In solar ejecta, and yes, we're always finding new particles. Apparently, there is a particle that penetrates easily through solid rock, but is absorbed by semi-solid and liquid rock, i.e., magma, etc. And the energy is absorbed by that semi-liquid and liquid rock, which makes it hotter because you just added a bunch of energy to it.
Right.
And when it gets hotter, it gets thinner. And when it gets thinner, it's a better lubricant. And when it's a better lubricant, plates slip. So that's it. There is an Earth-wide, nearly everywhere. There's very few places, very small percentage of places where this isn't true. that there's a plastic zone or semi-solid rock between the crust and the mantle of the Earth. A really thin layer, and it's a lubricant, and that's why you have plate tectonic movement. After all, if there was nothing lubricant, you'd have no plate tectonic movement, would you?
Right.
Because it would just be attached to the core, and it would all move as a unit, and that would be it. There would be no plate tectonics. And we have only, something around 5,000 years worth of records.
Right. Right.
But you can find the story in some ancient religions that, that like the sky lit up and there was, fire pouring out of the earth, just real simple ways to put it, but talking about the atmosphere being lit and them observing that, and then something about 3 days later is some kind of seismic event or a volcano or something like that.
Right.
And we have actual history, recent history, that confirms that story and confirms this model as well as we found the particle. So you can look into the 1859 Carrington event. That's Richard Christopher Carrington. And he was talking about the sunspots. They had aurora borealis over central United States. It energized the atmosphere to the point that it fried the telegraph system, and the batteries blew up, killing 2 people. They disconnected the batteries, tried it with no batteries. It worked better than ever, reportedly, with no energy source except for lines through the air. And
that's crazy.
And you have the associated quake and volcanic event that was at that same, not at that same time, same day, but at that same time. Okay. So we know that's happening, and now we have the science to say why it's happening, and all that great stuff. And I really recommend the safe things that Suspicious Observers does say. Of course, you can get pretty hairy and pretty out there in left field of the baseball field, but I don't recommend that. But the stuff that's safe and showable and obviously existent, I personally have no problem with.
What do you know about their? Sorry, what do you know about their methodology? Like, have they identified the particle, or set of particles that's responsible for this? And
yeah, we've identified the particle.
Are they just measuring that particle and whether it's increasing or decreasing, or are they looking at solar activity in general?
Well, that's
making predictions on that.
That's larger scientific groups that found the particle and got to name it and made observations about it. Suspicious Observers is concentrating on the earthquake model, and then they have another section called Sapphire, which is not spelled like the stone but misspelled SAFIRE, and they have made the
fusion project.
What?
The fusion project they're doing. Right, the
fusion or fission. But anyway, they made no, it's not fusion or fission. It's neither one. They're not working with a fusion model, but they created a working sun in a laboratory that does the things the sun does, and it has nothing to do with fusion, which is kind of the point. There is no fusion model for the sun. We assume the sun is fusing. We have no evidence the sun is fusing, by the way.
There's no model for the.
There's a model. There's no evidence for the fusing in the sun. In fact, you can look all over NASA. They will tell you, and other such entities will tell you that when you look into a dark spot in the sun, the further you look in, the deeper it is. The further you get to look into it, the colder it is. That fusion wouldn't be doing that. Fusion would be the deeper you go, the hotter it is.
So, I have no idea, I guess. This is way above my pay grade. I don't know from fusion,
Well, I mean, let me get anyone who's interested started where I got started.
Okay.
Don't start looking at the science through suspicious observers, because they're speaking at such a high level that it's not going to make sense anyway.
Sure.
Okay. So I don't recommend that, actually. Don't go and watch some of their speeches there's some big names working with suspicious observers, but I would recommend looking into Halton Chip Arp. Now, Halton Arp was nicknamed by his peers, quote unquote, the next Galileo.
Oh, wow.
Now, he didn't call himself that. They called him that. Now, the reason they called him that is because as he sat in Doppler's chair, being Doppler's protege, he discovered more bright stellar objects than any human in the history of the planet. He holds the record right now.
Oh.
So he spent that much time plotting the sky and looking at it and tracking things and finding new objects. Okay. He wrote 3 books, which included photographs that he took through that telescope.
Mm-hmm.
With standard equipment in a standard way, with a really powerful telescope, and he took long exposure pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And until very recently, there was really no pictures to rival what he had taken pictures of. But Halton Arp disagreed on the whole, without coming out and saying it too much and getting his butt fired. And he did that for quite a time, writing 3 books. And one of them that I do recall the name of is, how did he put it? Anomalous Galaxies.
Nice.
Okay, so he labeled them as anomalous. They're actually not. It's just anomalous considering what people think the science indicates and what the truth is. Compared to that, they're anomalous.
I see.
But for instance, if you look at any picture of the box galaxy, the reason they call it a box galaxy is because it has an enlightened area that looks like a cube. Okay. And it's got an
I've
X
never heard of
right
that.
through the galaxy. I could bring it, or you could bring up a picture of it.
Box galaxy.
Yeah. And there's an obvious X going through the middle of the box centered on the galaxy.
What?
You see it?
No, not yet.
It's only one
I'm
we
gonna
call
go
the
to-
box galaxy.
But there's all kinds of products and things called Box Galaxy, like lunch boxes with galaxy prints and stuff.
Oh, now try the box galaxy in quotes.
Okay.
Oh, Krishna knows something about this.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, NGC is actually initials that were used to determine certain galaxies, and a system that Halton Arp was using.
NGC.
Yeah, you may have recognized those letters together, like maybe NGC 17.
The box galaxy group. That's not it. That's a group of galaxy that form a box.
Peace and respect, Dr. Cross and Krishna. Maybe it'd be better to look in NASA than just generally search the web.
Yeah.
Okay, but the box galaxy, it's shaped like a box, so to speak, or at least there's a bright area around it that is, and then it's got this X, and you can see the galaxy in the middle. That's exactly what a pinch point in a plasma discharge does. It's just the side view of a plasma discharge. And you can get a plasma discharge to do that in the laboratory every day of the week without too much trouble.
To make a pinch point in a cube?
If you have 3 points of conduction, the cathode in the middle will make a box galaxy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Where it's like drawn in, and that's the top of the X, and then it continues on, and that's the bottom of the X, and that causes a plasma circle, which is the cube, in what are called Birkeland current sheets. Okay.
I've heard you mention those before too. I'm not sure what those are.
Okay.
What's that?
Birkeland current sheets are what will spin aluminum in a dish around an electromagnet. They're electromagnetic current, right? And it
Okay.
moves stuff. It moves non-magnetic stuff.
Hmm.
It'll move water. It'll move plastic. It'll move non-conductors.
How are they formed?
By an energetic transfer in some direction.
Okay.
And then it creates. Try to imagine a unicorn horn.
Okay. Done.
And the unicorn horn is going up and down, and the pinch point is inside the unicorn's forehead, right? It's not really part of the horn. The horn isn't really attached to it. I mean, the horn's attached to it, but it's not horn-like.
Okay. Okay.
All right. But you've got the twisting spiral, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the opposite twisting spiral the other way underneath of it.
Sure.
So depending on how you look at it, one's clockwise, the other one's counterclockwise.
Right.
This might start sounding familiar when it comes to like drains and stuff on the earth.
Sure.
Okay. But inside the unicorn horn, there are layers of unicorn horns. Okay. And if there are multiple conductors, you'll get several unicorn horns, one to each conductor, both upward and downward within the main ones. If you can imagine a lot, like say there was, I don't know, 9 spikes inside, and each one of them was a double unicorn horn in spirals. Okay. And then they could be contained in a larger sheet, and that could be contained, say, at a star, and that could be contained in a larger one, like I don't know, a galaxy. Like the whole galaxy is a pinch point in these double unicorn. That, if you can even imagine the scale of that, our galaxy would be a bright little object in the middle of 2 unicorn horns. If we could look at it from outside, and if it was energetic enough and there was enough particles around it, you could see them energized and glowing.
I feel like I'm approaching an understanding here. I'm like right there. So that's related to the disk shape of the galaxy, that the pinch shape is spiral 2 different directions.
The Birkeland current sheets will automatically make a phi spiral out of even non-conductors.
A 5 spiral?
Phi.
Oh, phi.
A spiral galaxy spiral.
Phi. Yeah, I know. Phi. Okay.
Yeah, phi. Sorry. It will just create phi spirals. See, the reason that we have this overly complicated idea about dark energy and dark matter is because we're missing a bunch of matter that we need to be pulled gravitationally to make the spiral arms in a galaxy stay together. Because everybody intuitively understands the further you are from a gravitational source, the less effect it has. That's right. Okay. But you know that the arms stay intact in a spiral galaxy, even though they're going around, they're staying, they're not getting longer or something, and the ends failing, and no, they're fine. They're staying where they are. And here's something most people don't know, that they don't turn this way. They turn this way. The far end leads. The far end leads. It's not being drugged, it's being pulled.
Everybody, that was worth the stream right there. That's
it's
verifiable.
Not being drugged behind by gravity. It's being pulled by something else. I know.
That's crazy.
But try to find NASA talking about which way they rotate.
I've never heard that.
I didn't think about it either.
That's crazy.
Right. So you go, what?
The tails are leading?
The inside, the tail is leading? What? Yes. And what that means in real terms is it's being pulled. It's not being drugged.
Right.
And it's not getting slower as it goes out. It's actually going slower as it goes in. So there's that. And, and of course, our star is one of those stars and one of those arms and one of those spirals. And
right.
Okay.
Right.
So there's plenty serious observations by Halton Arp in his books, including, I can't remember the other two, I'm sorry, anomalous galaxies, where he took photographs of what are thought by NASA, etc., other observers, to be very, very near stellar objects, say galaxies, for instance, right?
Mhm.
And then we have quasars, and quasars are super dense, and they're
Right.
at the edge of the universe, and they're just being formed.
Right.
Problem. If I could use this image behind me. Okay.
Oh, nice.
So you've got the near stellar object, right? And then you've got, say, a distant quasar.
Okay.
Right? Now, the distant quasar is so distant that even though it looks smaller, it's actually much, 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 much huger. The only problem is that a lot of them, the pictures that they show, or Halt and Arp shows a physical trail going from here, spiraling down to the core of this in a perfect phi. Now, why would there be a phi spiral going from each of these far distant objects to the center of a known near galaxy? Why would that be? And why would they be redshifted differently than the galaxy that we're observing? Well, Halt and Arp took pictures of these and shown that those quasars are not great distance of great size. They're actually being birthed out of the near known object. He also shown that the amount of redshift is direct relationship, whether there's 1, 2, 3 of these objects having a trail back to a galaxy that we know of. No matter how many there are, the redshift is the distance they are from the core galaxy. And you go, well, wait a minute. What's going on with that? Why should the distance be the color? And it is. And it always is. There's no exceptions to that. So he hypothesized that what's going on is we're watching essentially a trail of matter during an explosive birthing of a new galaxy out of a larger, older one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
Right. See, but it's... And it was right after that last book was published that he was asked to step down, and he went to Max Planck Institute, which is more open-minded than NASA. And he worked there till he stopped working. Peace and respect, theological introspection. I've just noticed you. Sorry if you've been here a while. Oh, you had to go anyway. Okay, well, anyway. All right. So it seems that between what little understanding I have, but I think what I do know is clear in my mind, of what's going on with Electric Universe, bad name choices, but they're science guys. They're not artists who are good at naming things. With their observations about the Earth and solar ejecta and poles flipping and that level of energetic, and that we see evidence for spiral galaxies being drugged, not pulled. Oops, lost a connection. So hopefully I'll try again. Being pulled, not drug around. And we see pinch points in space centered on galaxies that would be conductors, having metals in them and stuff. Must be a hologram. No, it's just a bad program and bad lighting on my green screen, New Genesis connection. And that all this adds up to, we don't need dark energy and we don't need dark matter. We just need to admit that the part of the effect of everything being made literally of energy is all of those energies are pulling at each other despite whatever distance. Where gravity is apparently very, very weak amongst the nuclear force, the strong and weak nuclear forces and electromagnetic forces. yeah, apparently gravity is very weak amongst those 4. But what I think we're actually observing is there's a 5th fundamental energetic force. And we haven't found a way to test it by machine yet. So we haven't found justification to name it either. All right. If anyone in the live chat would do something like respond to me, so I am sure that this thing is still working. If you just say yes or something like that, I'd appreciate it. Resetting the internet at Mac the Human. Okay, thanks. Have I seen your last 3 comments on StreamYard? Well, let's see. Probably not. Joe Day is now watching. No pressure. Going backward, of course. Yo Krishna and Pixie says hi, watching in Google Meet privately.
I'm back.
Richard, me, and Pixie PJ. So yeah, I guess I've read all your. If you had comments other than those, you didn't give me a count, Wildheart. So I can't tell you that I have read your last 3 comments. But those are the last 3 comments that I could read. Just using logic here, I don't know if they're the last 3 or not. Maybe you never hit enter. I don't know.
Krishna's advocating for my censorship. I have to agree. I'm a loose cannon.
That's pretty funny. One of the most reasonable humans I ever met. Okay, so because of all of those things, that we have probably the world's most experienced living human saying, no, that's not what we're seeing. That what we're considering to be radio lobes in quasars that are massive and super dense and really far away, the reason that they look so big and they are so massive, so dense, and that we can see a radio signal from them is because they're new. In fact, if you think about it, it should be counterintuitive for you to say there's a new thing at the edge of the universe that we're receiving a radio signal from.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, that was a really long time ago. Apparently, it was at least 8.5 billion years ago what you're looking at.
Right. It would be an original thing. It would be one of the first things. Yeah.
Well, if the total of it's 16 point whatever, right, then you can cut that in half if you just assume that we're in the middle, which we aren't.
Right.
And we don't know where we are, actually. But in the middle of what we can see. We're definitely in the middle of what, because we can see equidistant in every direction.
That's true.
We're in the middle of what we can see.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. So we are in the middle of what we can tell. And those distant quasars would have to be, if we can see 16.5, then whatever you see at the edge of the universe has to be 8.25 in age, right?
Right.
So it's not a new thing at all.
Right.
It's a really, really friggin' old thing.
Right.
Which doesn't explain why there's a recognizable radio signal at that distance. Because our equipment's not that good. So everything about them, except for the theory, says they must be near. Every observation about them says they must be near. And in fact, if you take poorly dulled NASA pictures of those same quasars, and then you computer enhance the picture, you'll see the trail coming off there that they erased. Now, why would they bother to alter a picture that way? Well, that's an interesting question. I don't know the answer.
Now we're getting into some juicy conspiracy.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I know, but it's a fact that NASA has dulled down these pictures to where you don't see the trail.
Interesting.
But if you use, average computer programs to enhance the picture, the trail shows up right away. Wow, what was that all about? You just turned off your lights, or? That was weird. And now you're frozen. I'm thinking his electricity just went off. Maybe that's what happened before too. And the connection lasted slightly longer than the electricity did. So we have him in the darkness, frozen. I think I'll just keep him. I think it's cool looking. Flat Earth, New Genesis does not fit into any science that I'm aware of. I do not think the Bible is describing a flat Earth, and I think that's basically a juvenile reading of the text and not a necessity of the text. After all, you couldn't have angels positioned at the four horns or corners of the earth and then be out of sight if the earth was a disc. They could never get out of sight. What do they do? Below the earth? I don't even know what that means. Yes, thunderstorms, electric universe conspiring to stop me. That's funny. Actually, we could talk a lot about lightning and thunderstorms and why lightning or why clouds gather over mountains, and the fact that airplane and higher object pilots see lightning going in both directions. NASA has blocked the Nibiru constellation. You may be right. I have no idea. I think it's actually his transformer that can't handle the heat, not Mac. But we've been going about 45 minutes. I'm going to take questions from the watching audience. And in fact, if everyone who claims to be here is here, this is probably one of the larger audiences that we've had while doing a live show. So what I'm going to ask of Wildheart, a special favor, that if someone asks a question in your stream, please put it in my stream so that we can answer to it for them. And we'll try to be timely and hasty about that without being inaccurate. Or if Krishna, New Genesis, Doc was here a minute ago. Hill, peace and respect, Hill. I think I did not say hi to you. I apologize. Tommy, theological introspection had to leave, of course. There was someone else who was here before. Kevin, Trusty 8 podcast was here. If you're still here, Kevin, you want to ask a question, I'll do my very best to answer to your particular question. Now, I have to tell you guys, if you don't ask a question, don't say it's my fault that you don't understand something I'm saying, because I'm giving you an opportunity to address your particular brain exactly the best that I can. So here's your opportunity to say the thing the way that you need to say it. And if I can understand what you need me to say, I'll say it the way you need me to. It'll be the same information, but I'll try to find a way to say it that goes with the brain that you have. Because we are all different brains, aren't we? Oh, NGC, New Genesis Connection. I'll give you guys about another 30 seconds. I think the reason that we're not finding dark matter and dark energy after all that oh my God, the money. We could have fed the world. There could be no starving people on the world for a decade for the money that we spent trying to find something that probably does not exist. And it's not necessary. You don't need it. And if Electric Universe is correct, there is free electricity movement all over outer space. For instance, we sent a probe from the inner, of course, we're in the inner solar system here on Earth. And it collided with an object that came from out of the solar system. And I'm going to assert that what happened when it got close to collision is an energy transfer happened between those two objects. That would be Temple 1. And I think it was called the Temple 1 impactor. They called it something silly obvious like that. And that would explain why the impactor, which was literally 400 pounds of copper, and then 400 pounds of propulsion, steering, and filming, and computers, and everything like that. Peace and respect to JG. Governments don't want to use money to feed people when they can waste it on dark lives matter, or dark matter, or whatever. Yeah, well, there is a certain truth to that. They certainly don't want a higher population, and if you feed people, that's what happens. My phone battery, and go find candles. Peace and respect as always. I'm sorry for the interruption. Not at all. Don't be sorry. It's just happenstance. It's fine. Likely story, Mac. Weather station says it's sunny and calm at your place. You made that up. You didn't look at all. But anyway. Oh my goodness. What was I saying? Anyone want to remind me? Got sidetracked by reading side chat. Nope, probably not going to find it. I think I'm just going to end the show. All right, guys, you haven't asked any questions, and I think I've given you enough time to ask questions if you so desired. So I wish you all a pleasant evening. Please spoil the ones you love as you can afford, whether that's emotional affordance or financial affordance. Don't overtax yourself and make it impossible to keep doing it. But as you can afford, spoil them as much as you can, the ones that you love. You are all very beautiful. In fact, except you misspelled beautiful. It's F-U-L, not F-O-O-L. But I know you're making a pun. But peace and respect to you all. Till next time, guys, please try to bear in mind that I truly look forward to the day that we're all great friends.